Good morning. I'm Dennis O'Hare, the host of Morning Edition on 90.1 WABE, and we would like to welcome you to the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series, originating from the studios of PBA in Atlanta. Now, this is the debate among the candidates, Republican candidates, for Cobb County Commission Chair. And now, let's meet them. They are, in alphabetical order, Mike Boyce, a retired Marine Corps colonel with more than 30 years military experience; Tim Lee, who has served as Cobb County Commission Chair since 2010, and Larry Savage, who spent 40 years working in engineering, management, and sales, as well as owning and operating 5 small businesses. And now let's meet our panelist. Mark Nisi is a reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, covering news for DeKalb County. Tasneem Shamma has been a reporter for WABE since 2014. She covers business, tech, and transportation. And Thomas Wheatley is the news editor for Creative Loafing. He covers transportation, the environment, urban development, and state and local politics. Now, we'll have 3 rounds in today's debate, and for more information on the rules for each round, you can visit the Atlanta Press Club website, atlantapressclub.org. So now let's get started. In the first round, each candidate will be asked 1 question by one of our panelists, and the candidates will have 60 seconds to answer the question. Mark Nisi, you get to ask the first question to Larry Savage.
Mr. Savage, you've run for a commission before unsuccessfully. What makes you think this time will be different?
Well, the world has changed a great deal since the first time that I ran. In 2010, I entered the contest because no one else did. Mr. Lee was the only candidate, and I felt like the people deserved a debate and a discussion at the time. In 2012, everybody got interested, and we have 4 candidates, and my candidacy was pretty much stalemated from the start. This year, we've got a new range of issues, and it's time to really start to get more seriously into issues and avoid discussion of personalities. We have a lot of open traps in the Cobb County government, a lot of things that do not exist that should exist in the way of checks and balances and limits on government, the things that should be there that would make sure that our government stays on track with the interests of the people of Cobb County.
Thank you very much, Mr. Savage. Thomas Wheatley, you get to ask the next question of Mike Boyce.
Colonel Boyce, Cobb County has become more racially diverse. In 1980, white residents made up 95% of the population. Today, it's approximately 65%. The ARC projects that 1 out of every 4 Cobb residents will be Hispanic by 2040. What should be done so the county's leadership reflects this diversity?
Well, thank you for the question, and also thank you for having me this morning. Honestly, I believe that the Cobb County government has done a remarkable job since Chairman Byrne was a chairman to bring diversity to the number of people who work in government. It's not to say that everything in the county is perfect. Nothing ever is, because there's a lot of dynamics going on right now. But I do know that there is a number of projects undergoing right now that are working on that. I take great comfort in knowing that, for instance, in South Cobb, they have a terrific commissioner in Lisa Cupid, who's worked very hard to bring increased business down there, to work on the education system there. And of course, I just want to underline that the education system is the bottom of anything. They lead to good jobs, and good jobs leads to the prosperity that we need in Cobb County. It's all about standards and equal opportunity.
Mr. Boyce, thank you. Tasneem Shamma will now get the final question for Tim Lee.
Chairman Lee, why was there no public vote on funding for the new Brave Stadium? Did you think voters would not approve it if they had a chance to vote on it?
The direct answer to that is no. The details of the arrangements for the Braves to come to Cobb County were talked about in many meetings, and once those details were defined, they were brought out in the public, presented to the Board of Commissioners. It was then shared with the public, and we had many public meetings and public debates and conversations about that proposal. In the end, 4 out of 5 commissioners representing Cobb County residents voted to move forward with the program put forward for their consideration. Much debate and much conversation was had leading up to that vote, but in the end, it was a vote by the Board of Commissioners, 4-5, to move forward.
Mr. Lee, thanks very much. And that concludes our first round of questions. In our second round, Each candidate will ask one question of his or her opponent, and it's his opponent in this case. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to ask the question. The person who is being asked will have 60 seconds to respond, and then the questioner will have 30 seconds for a rebuttal. And by random selection, Mike Boyce, you get to ask the first question.
Oh, thank you. And my question goes to Chairman Lee. As we know, there was many discussions and confusion regarding the hiring or using of an attorney who did not work for Cobb County with regard to negotiating the deal with the Braves. And on you authorized an email between a member of the Cobb Chamber to this lawyer saying that he was affirmed as the attorney-client relationship between it and the attorney. My question is, instead of using the intermediary of the chamber, why didn't you go directly to this lawyer and ask him to work for the county?
I'm not 100% sure what you asked me, but the bottom line is when we were getting planning for this epic transformational project, we wanted to make sure we had the brightest and the best people at the table initially to represent the best interests of Cobb County. And in doing so, I reached out to Brooks Mathis, who is our designated point person for economic development, and asked him who could help us and who were the brightest minds around that could help us make sure that we're protecting the interests of Cobb County residents. And we brought forward first a small group and then expanded as the details needed to be expanded. And those were never hired folks. They were all folks that committed to helping Cobb County continue to do the best it can by making sure that our public was protected as we move forward and considered this particular opportunity.
All right, Mr. Boyce, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal if you want.
The wording is very specific in the email from Mr. Mathis to the lawyers saying the county affirms. I'm sorry, the email starts saying, I'm passing on to you the following provided by Chairman Tim Lee on behalf of Cobb County and its entities. The county affirms the attorney-client relationship between it and this lawyer. What does affirms the county-client relationship mean? And why did you not go directly to Mr. McRae with those wordings?
All right, Mr. Lee, we'll give you 30 seconds to answer that.
First of all, I didn't write the email. Second of all, you'll have to ask the author of the email as to what he meant by that. But in no circumstances whatsoever was I in the position or took the position to hiring any outside resources. I'm not authorized to do that, and I did not do that.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, and we're going to stick with you because it's now your turn to ask a question of one of your opponents.
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Boyce. Your platform has focused on a need for change and taking Cobb in a new direction. During my term as chairman, we have invested heavily in public safety, including adding 80 police officers without raising taxes. We have lowered taxes 3 times down to pre-recession levels, the lowest in the region. Unemployment in Cobb is the lowest it has been since 2008, and we have facilitated more than $1 billion of transportation improvements. What specifically needs to change, and how specifically would you do that?
Mr. Boyce, you have 1 minute.
Well, what the chairman would have you believe is that these 80 policemen are a direct result of his efforts, when in fact, as we all know, there is a great deal of controversy regarding his support for the public safety program in Cobb County. That's why the Fraternal Order of Police endorsed me rather than the standing chairman. Secondly, the chairman would have you believe that he's reduced taxes. In fact, he's taken them down to the level that they're at in 2012 when he raised them to the level they are now. So it's more of a wash. The bottom line, the change that needs to be done in Cobb County is the transparency that is not there right now. When you get transparency, you get people believing in government, trusting their officials, they become more engaged, and they produce the prosperity and continuity and enforce the bond relationship between the people and the government that's needed to ensure that we'll go forward in the ways that are to continue the blessings of our county.
All right, Mr. Boyce, thank you. Mr. Lee, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal if you want it.
Thank you. We don't all know what, as was stated, and again, my opponent is stating things that aren't true. The truth is I work with the leadership of the police department and public safety to develop a plan that we're now rolling out, which is proactive and aggressive, and I think meets the needs of, as outlined by the police department. So it's a good plan and it's working. Second of all, Cobb County has one of the most robust websites as regard information that is available to it. Both candidates have admitted they've done extensive research in the last 4 years utilizing that exact resource. Transparency is paramount, and it's one that we focus on, and we live through it every single day.
Larry Savage now has a chance to ask a question of one of your opponents.
Well, the questions inevitably go to the incumbent chairman. In the days after the initial announcement about the stadium project, a newspaper person asked a question about would there be a reason to vote on this, and the answer was no. And this answer came from the chairman, and it was some time prior to the Board of Commissioners ever taking up the question to vote on it. So the chairman had a reason to answer the question, no, there's no referendum. And add to that, we know from the bond validation hearing that the county attorney was not brought into the process immediately from the start of the negotiations. So the question becomes, how was the determination made? How was the decision made to not provide the referendum that was provided for in the Georgia Constitution, which states very clearly that the public has a referendum to prove debt?
You got a minute, Mr. Lee.
Well, thank you. Larry, that's what happens when you believe what you read in the paper. Quite frankly, the county attorney was brought in, as I indicated earlier, the county attorney was brought in at a time where we believed that her contributions would be one that moved the project forward. When asked the question about whether or not there would be a public vote, the question was in the framework of, with the proposal being presented, does it include a public vote? And the answer was no. Specifically, we had worked on the details of a significant economic project which has been catalytic for the entire community, and one that we believe is helping move Cobb forward. But the idea of bringing the deal to the public was brought forward in 30 days, 45 days of public review and scrutiny, and eventually vote by the full board and a 4-5 vote to move forward on the project.
All right, Mr. Lee, thank you very much. Mr. Savage, you have 30 seconds if you need it.
But we had a right in the state constitution to vote on the bond debt, and we did not have the referendum. And the question remains, who made that decision and when?
Mr. Lee, 30 seconds.
I think the Superior Court and the Supreme Court of Georgia made those final decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. We now move to our third and final round. And if you're just joining us, this is the debate among the candidates for Cobb County Commission Chair, Republican candidates, and we will now go to the third and final round. And in this round, each of our panelists will ask a question to the candidate of his or her choice until we run out of time. And as moderator, I'll determine whether a rebuttal is appropriate. Thomas Wheatley gets the first question.
If possible, I would like to ask all three candidates this question.
Sure. Okay.
Politico reported in 2014 that between 2000 and 2010, Cobb's poverty rate doubled to 12%. That same year, according to the magazine, the Urban Institute reported that out of all of the counties in the United States, Cobb is where low-income people have the least chance of finding affordable places to live. What will you do to address growing suburban poverty and its underlying causes?
And because of our time limits, we'll give you 45 seconds each on this one. Mr. Boyce, we'll start with you and we'll work our way right down the table.
All in 45 seconds?
Easy enough, right?
Yes. That's a difficult question, I'm very honest with you, because it's just not a matter of providing affordable housing. It's connected to the people who were going to those housing. And the reality is that for decades now, the U.S. government and state governments have tried to provide social network programs to assist these people that are economically challenged, and those programs, for the most part, have not worked. So we have to find a new approach. I'm more looking at faith-based programs, because I'm involved in several of them. I'm looking at regional approaches that may, in fact, bring non-government organizations together, which there are so many. I know it's kind of disconnected. So I'm going to look for solutions that are not just government-based, but also involve the community.
Mr. Lee, your next 45 seconds.
Thank you. The discussion about affordable housing is one that goes across all specters of our community, not only those that might be influenced with low income, but also those that are in retirement age and who are meeting a retirement fixed income. So the the solution to providing more affordable housing for Cobb County is to continue to create opportunities for employment, which create a greater, if you would, a greater amount of money, disposable income for housing. But we have to work with the community and the development community to provide the economics associated with competitive, affordable housing, not only for folks with limited income on a, as you said, a minority level, but also for seniors across Cobb County, which are becoming a growing issue as well for Cobb.
Mr. Savage?
We could spend several hours debating what does affordable housing mean, because I'm sure it could mean different things to a lot of different people. The question is, are there people who can't afford housing? And the answer to that is not necessarily providing housing that's less expensive. The answer is going to be in boosting people in the economic area, boost them up the ladder and help them find ways to enhance their job skills so that they can advance to a level where they can afford the housing. You know, traditionally, go back years, people have made concessions. They have they have shared with family members, shared with friends until they could find their own way. But the ultimate answer, you can't artificially force down the cost of housing. But what you can do is create opportunity through education and other mechanisms. You can create opportunities for people to advance economically and get themselves in position where they can afford the housing that exists.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. Tasneem Shamma asks the next question.
This is for all of the candidates. So the Brave Stadium is here pretty much, and they say that they're going to be releasing a 3-part plan to reduce congestion in the area. But what is the county doing, or what should it be doing to ensure that drivers won't be stuck in traffic?
All right, 45 seconds each again, and Mr. Lee, we'll start with you this time.
Transportation in Cobb County is something that's worked on every single day by the staff and by the community as a whole. We have a comprehensive plan which addresses the future. We have an existing short-term plan which is implementing existing projects to the tune of just over $1 billion worth of investment going on currently. The Braves have indicated that they will be releasing later this summer a comprehensive plan for its particular property and its project that will include, if you would, it would include the circulators that's going to be part of it, the walkability, bicycles, cars, parking, the entire all-day event, if you would. That is comprehensive. We are at the table, Cobb DOT, GDOT, and the Braves are all been meeting on a regular basis with that plan. And it will be comprehensive, it will be detailed, and it'll be available close to 6 months prior to first pitch for the community to provide their feedback. Technology also will play an important part of that solution. So we look forward to a game changer, so to speak, in how we address transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Savage, 45 seconds for you.
Well, the transportation planning really reflects the ready, shoot, aim approach to the whole thing, in that we made the decision to do it before the discussion took place about what's it going to take. And now we're having to wing it on a regular basis and piece it together as we go along. Another thing that the county has done that has hampered really the effort is our SPLOST program. We voted to renew our SPLOST program 2 years before it was up. So now we're extended until 2022 and lock in our SPLOST money. Well, it should be locked in anyway. And so now we don't have the flexibility we ought to have to be able to address these actual needs. So we've basically handcuffed ourselves with bad policy on the way the SPLOST is managed. We are making progress, and we have to make progress because we have to get this to work.
Mr. Boyce.
Well, I'm just going to approach it from the average layman. I see what the traffic looks like now on 75 and 285 between 3:30 and 7 o'clock. And let's say that the Braves are successful in their season, and I certainly hope that. So we're going to be dumping another 15,000 to 20,000 cars into that mix. The reality is, I would suggest people go out and buy a tape and learn a language as we work our way to get them off 75 into the parking lots. Is there a plan? Yes, there is. But I'm in the military, and I've done lots of operational plans, and they last about 30 seconds until you cross the battle line. The reality is, I think there's lots of effort being made into this plan. But as a economic developer told me here from one of the local cities, we just have to see how well it's going to work and then react and make sure that we have flexibility in that plan to react to the situations that we hadn't thought about. So it's going to be an issue. It's going to require significant attention, but we're Americans, and we'll find a way through this.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Mark Nisi has the next question.
Again, for all three candidates, a bridge is planned to improve connectivity with the future Atlanta Braves Stadium. Would each of you support reallocating SPLOST funds to help support construction of the bridge and also surrounding infrastructure on the bridge, even though voters have already voted on the SPLOST and dedicated that money for other projects?
Mr. Savage, we'll start with you this time.
We reallocate SPLOST money all the time. That's one of the current ongoing objections, is the SPLOST is only a suggestion. People don't seem to notice the other instances where SPLOST money gets spent on projects that weren't on the list. It happens all the time. The reason it's getting attention in regard to the bridge is because it connects to the stadium. But back to what I said a little while ago, legally, we don't have the option to reallocate it unless we have another referendum. Now, we could have had another referendum on May 24th because we're already scheduled to go to the polls. And nobody has brought forth anything that would help to alleviate some of these problems that could be solved with a referendum. I'm very disappointed that hasn't happened.
All right. Mr. Boyce.
Well, you know, the bridge was always part of the memorandum of understanding between the county and the Braves. So my point is, it didn't matter what the bridge cost. We were obligated to pay for it. So the brouhaha over the cost of the bridge, to me, was smoke. We signed a contract, and we're going to build a bridge. And whatever the cost is going to be, so be it. That's the price of signing an MOU where you haven't costed out what's in it. With regard to the SPLOST, I'm not in favor of it, because once you start making an exception for one project and using SPLOST money that's not listed in the Tier 1 projects, then you have to start making an exception for something else that's out there. So the answer is, on a general basis, no, I'm not in favor of using SPLOST dollars for that bridge.
Mr. Lee.
Well, Mark, with all due respect, I think there needs to be a little bit more research into the SPLOST program, what it is and what it isn't. The current SPLOST, and it's available on our website for all to see, includes specific buckets that are designated towards matching other funds or for projects in the future to be identified. It's a common practice in SPLOST, a common practice across the state. The bridge construction costs will have no SPLOST dollars in it whatsoever. There will be SPLOST associated with some utility relocation. Again, that's a part of a bucket within the SPLOST, approved SPLOST and approved bucket list to be used for utility relocation as they're identified for projects that we move forward on. Some instances, project doesn't have utility relocation. Some instances, they have relocation. That's why it's done in a bucket segment, just like sidewalk for school improvement areas. That is a bucket in which we draw upon when we need to make safety a priority for sidewalks in school systems. So both my opponents are laser focused on an issue that, or a point of the issue where they just don't understand.
Mr. Chairman, I have to cut you off because it's time for closing statements. Each candidate will have 60 seconds. Mr. Lee, we start with you.
Thank you. I am very proud of my conservative record, and I am proud of the accomplishments that we have made as chairman of Cobb County. Lowering taxes 3 times, adding 80 police officers, and facilitating economic growth to the tune of 20,000 jobs, 42 relocations and expansions, and over $1 billion of private investment. But this is just the beginning. I still have work to do. Ensuring that the economic growth we have achieved turns into future and further reductions of property taxes for Cobb County. Eliminating the water fund transfer. Ensuring the $40 million for parks bonds is fully funded without raising taxes. And finish what we have started to make Cobb the safest community in the country. Look, the easy thing to do for a politician is to be angry. But I'm not a politician. I'm a leader. I'm the person who has led the board to make bold decisions and decisive conservative results. Cobb County is a shining example of where conservative leadership gets you. And I ask for your vote on May 24th to re-elect me as chairman of Cobb County Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Savage, your closing statement.
Cobb County has incurred $368 million in bond debt, and they did it without a referendum. At this point, that's history, but it's also historic, and I think it was wrong. Our state constitution provides for a referendum of the voters to provide their control over the incurring of new debt by any local government. But that has now been undermined effectively by Cobb County, so that now a template exists so that any county administration in the state can issue all the revenue bonds they want to issue without a referendum. All they have to do is follow the steps that were laid out by Cobb County in financing the stadium. That's a very dangerous position for us to be in. I went to court over this. I understand this thing inside and out. I know why we didn't get the resolution that we needed in court, and I know what to do to fix it permanently, and I think it needs to be fixed permanently. I think that is the #1 issue going forward for Cobb County and the state, is to get control of bond debt controlled by taxpayers.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. Mr. Boyce.
Well, we're here because with the age-old question, what kind of government do we want in our county? Do we want one that represents the voices of the people, or do we want one that represents certain vested interests? And I'm here to tell you right now, I spent 30 years in uniform defending this concept of democracy and freedom and republicanism, and we're slowly going to a direction that I don't recognize in either of those concepts. I have shaped my whole campaign as nothing more than a belated referendum on what we should have done with regard to the bond stadium. If we can vote on a $40 million park bond, then we should be able to vote on a $350 million stadium bond. Anybody that's a voter can appreciate the connection of this issue. So on May 24th, I'm asking your vote for a person who's committed to leading as a public servant. That's all he's done. I'm Mike Boyce. I'm asking for your vote on May 24th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. And that concludes our debate. And we'd like to remind voters, as the candidates have, primary elections will be held on Tuesday, May 24th. Early voting, by the way, is already underway. Our thanks to the candidates and to our panel of journalists. We'd also like to thank the Atlanta Press Club for arranging today's debate. And for more information about the Atlanta Press Club and all of the debates they will host this primary election season, just visit atlantapressclub.org. The debate for DeKalb County CEO is up next. I'm Dennis O'Hare. Thanks for joining us for the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series.